is Melogen, and welcome to another Is It Worth the Gold video. Today we are talking about the new German Tier 8 Premium, the Panther 88. Note that this tank does not cost 11,500 gold, it costs 7,300 gold now. There's been a price reduction on this. And for that price, is it worth it? It's a tough question, but we'll try to answer that at the end of the video. But let's first start off with looking into the armor. And as soon as we do that, we realize that there is no armor. 80 frontal, 50 lower plate. Don't ever, like, what are you even going to meet that doesn't have 120 penetration? You can angle it a bit, but even if you do angle it, you won't get more than 150 armor here. And the side armor is 50, so as soon as you start to over angle, your side is just going to be paper. Third front is kind of similar, of 120 armor, which in paper should be better, but it's flat as a brick, so there's no real armor value there as well. The third cheeks is pretty much the only spot on this tank that's actually well protected. It's actually 60mm thick, which is kind of funny when you think about it, when the frontal hull is 80 and the side of the turret is 60. But the thing about the side of the turret is that it's angled extremely well, so you get out of bounds zones here. They're not very big. And the turret front is way bigger than like on the E50 or E50M, so just expect to get penetrated a lot and don't even pretend that you have any armor in this tank. And when we come to the rest of the stats, we don't really see much improvement. The obvious weakness of this tank is really bad engine, 600 horsepower with 12.9 power to weight, which we are comparing it to an FCM50T, which is another Tier 8 Premium with kind of similar role in the game. It's a big tank. You could call it the medium, and as well as you could call the Panther 88 really thinly armored heavy. But the thing about this is that really bad horsepower per ton compared to the FCM. It gets pulled out a bit by the soft stats that nobody can see, again, for absolutely no reason. These stats pull the Panther 88 out just a bit, but still, the FCM is just way superior in mobility to the Panther 2. When we look at the aiming circle spread stats, the obvious picture here, whenever the FCM is on the move or turns at full speed, obviously the aiming time on that is going to be worse. But in other ways, the tanks are quite similar. Gun depression, also bad news here. Only 5 to the front, 7 to the sides, 4 at the back. Not a very pleasant picture. FCM 50Ts 8 all around, which is, well, all around, all apart from the back of it, obviously. 13 elevation also isn't great, but that is not as important as gun depression. The tank is lighter as the FCM 50T, so ramming isn't the favorite thing to do for the Panther 88 as well. That being said, I am pretty sure we are ready to go into the replay. So here's the game. We are playing on Himmelsdorf Encounter. Note that this tank does not get preferential matchmaking, so I am lucky here with the matchmaking. And you kind of have to be to get a really good game. But before we all go into the proper action, let's look into the rest of the stats as we always do. I am going to point out the biggest differences between the Panther 88, the Super Pershing, and the FCM 50T. So we start off with 1500 horsepower each. The top speed on the Panther 88 is 46, which is in the middle between the FCM and the Super Pershing. Speed backwards, solid 20, which is as good as on the 50T and slightly better than on the Super Pershing. When we come to the view range, 390. It is alright, you can use optics with this, and I would recommend you using optics. Turret traverse 32, it's pretty solid for a German medium. When we come to the guns, so 240 alpha, 203 penetration. The standard DPM is going to be around 2088, but the reload with equipment and decent crew, you can get it down to below 6 seconds, which is actually the strongest part about this tank compared to any of the other premiums. Accuracy 0.32, aiming time 2.5, reasonably good stats on the gun. Gun depression you already saw, and that is pretty much it. For this game, we have started out pretty badly. We have taken a hit and our driver has died already. And the thing about this tank, it does not want to fight Super Pershings. It doesn't have any armor as you saw, and you have to aim for Super Pershings weak spots. And when the Super Pershing playing well and you shooting like a monkey, like I was just there, then you are going to be in for a tough ride. And again, shooting his gun meant take 2 for free. And the thing is, like, he doesn't have to aim. Well, I do, and I bounce off even his weak spots. So 101, this tank is just vastly inferior to the Super Pershing, especially if you shoot like a giant monkey. So first penetration for me, and we're gonna get... No, we're not gonna get the second one here, because... And here I find a new friend, a 23485, even that doesn't have any problem spending me. I lose 200 more health because of a high roll, but I will get the favor returned while shooting the Super Pershing's gun first. I will get the favor return with a high roll into him as well. So he dies. You can see that rate of fire working out pretty nicely for me. The tank is made out of paper though, so you can't really trade effectively against anything. You really don't want to get shot in this, and it's quite problematic because the tank is big and slow. The gun depression is not ideal either. And the further we compare this to an FCM, the tank doesn't really have the great feature of the FCM of having the turret right at the front, which means that this tank can't really peekaboo as well. The gun depression is worse, which also means that you can't really fight over the ridges as well. But it does have one plus, which is the slightly faster reload, which really doesn't make that much difference. So what we come at this point is that pretty much the Panther 88 is just a really bad version of an FCM 50T. It's big, it's slow, it has a arguably worse gun with slightly better rate of fire. It doesn't have preferential matchmaking, and it doesn't have any armor. But then again, there is a reason why this tank is 4,000 gold cheaper. So if you're on a really strict budget, but you really want to get into this game and you want to get a tank that might not be as fun to play, or might not be as competitive as the 50T, but you're really dedicated to this game, this might be your best option. I definitely would choose this over Super Pershing, which is probably the most a direct competitor to this, but I would choose this over Super Pershing, not because it's just better tank, just because it fits my style more. You could make a really good argument on why the Super Pershing is actually better than the Panther 88. Most of all, it's the preferential matchmaking. It has way worse gun, but if you get more tier 8 games, the gun on that isn't actually that horrible, and the gun on the Panther 88 is not like it's like super amazing in tier 10 games anyways. You can see how horrible the movement is on this tank. I can't really outturn a turret of a KV3, but he dies before he reloads, so I get away from that alive. After all that being said, let's go back and talk about the equipment. Primer, verge stabs, and coated optics as standard as it gets for a tier, well, whatever tier medium. 390 view range is actually gonna get you the max view range if you have a decent crew. So how to play this thing properly? Well, first of all, try to avoid bad engagements like I had against that Super Pershing. It's just not worth it to trade all your health for someone who has vastly superior tank in the positions you are. The Super Pershing just had such an easy time penning my front, and I had to make sure that I aim properly, which I didn't, so I lost a lot of health for no reason. I didn't do that as much damage as I wanted. And second of all, whenever you do get shot, shoot your enemies back twice, and try to avoid facing more than one enemy at the time, but that's a general rule in any tank really. Don't peek over bridges expecting to have a shitload of gun depression, you just don't. To the sides it's 7, which is alright, but to the front, which is the most important place to have gun depression, is only 5, so try avoiding peeking over bridges. But I do pick up my top gun, so almost 4k damage and a top gun. And here's the end plate. Ace Tanker, 2154 experience with premium count, high caliber and top gun, 3971 damage done, 567 assisted. Profit after repairs is only 97,000, which is actually quite low for what I did. I expected really more, but I guess this tank doesn't have the highest credit making potential out there. It seems that it's a bit easier to net 100k in like an IS-6 or an FCM, but for the price of this tank, you have to expect a bit less than from the giants of tier 8 like the T-34, IS-6, FCM, and so on. So, is the Panther 88 worth the gold? It really comes down to just one thing. Do you have enough money for an FCM 50T? Because everything Panther 88 does, the FCM 50T does just way better. It is really hard to recommend this tank if you're looking for your one only purchase in World of Tanks, unless you are on the really tight budget and you want to get that tier 8 premium. Arguably, tier 7 TDs are a better choice, like an E25 or an SU 122-44 is arguably a better choice than the Panther 88. But if you do want to grind the German crews and you are on a tight budget, I wouldn't blame you for buying this. It is not a super exciting tank, but it does what it does reasonably well. It's just that there's better tanks around, and the price tag of 7,300 gold makes sense. And if Wargaming was to take full tier 8 premium price, aka 12,000 gold for this tank, that would be just flat out robbery, and it would be the hardest recommendation of all time. But at this price, if you're on a really strict budget, then the tank might be worth your look. Otherwise, just buy an FCM 50T. Also, big shout out to Griefer1995 for gifting me this tank and letting me review it for you guys. I do really appreciate that, and yeah, that's me done for today. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you on the next one.